Have you ever rolled with a world-class jiu-jitsu black belt and you're just wondering what's on their mind while they're rolling? In today's video, I get to interview my good friend and my coach, 10th Planet black belt jiu-jitsu coach, Patrick Donabedian. If you don't know who Patrick is, he's actually one of the head instructors at 10th Planet HQ. That is right, where Eddie Bravo actually practices as well. And fun fact, Patrick was an EBI competitor and got to face the famous Gordon Ryan, which unfortunately he got submitted by, but it was such a great experience as well. And so it's not every single day where you get to dive inside the mind of a 10th Planet black belt. I just feel very grateful because he's my personal friend too, and he's so willing to share so much of his knowledge. In today's video, I actually paid Patrick for a jiu-jitsu consult, and I wanted to pay Patrick for his consult. You know, he's a really good friend, but I also want to respect the relationship and really dive into his philosophy of jiu-jitsu and seeing how black belts like Patrick himself think about jiu-jitsu differently than everyone else. After all, Patrick is probably the top 0.5% of jiu-jitsu black belts out there. He's really sick. And what was really interesting about our consult was that how he dissected what game for me to personally play based off my body type and games that I like to play as well. It was also very interesting to see his philosophy of jiu-jitsu as a system. And really by the end of the video, and I hope by watching this consult, it'll really help you identify, hey, what game you should play in your jiu-jitsu game. And especially in the world of jiu-jitsu, there's so much to focus on. There's so many different guards. How do you know which one to start with? What do you focus on? And Patrick in this video really helps me focus a lot more on the type of, and what I got from Patrick is that level of focus on where I should be spending most of my time to improve my jiu-jitsu game. So make sure to watch this video in its entirety. I'll leave links below if you want to book Patrick for a consult, and make sure to say, hey, Kevin Yee, the Farm D, the sandbag white belt, who's now blue belt, sent you as well. All right, on to the video. Enjoy. So over here, we got Patrick Donabedian, my coach, 10 Planet black belt over here. Got to face the greatest of all time, Gordon Ryan and all that. And so why I actually wanted you here as well is because I'm trying to get back into my jiu-jitsu game. And I felt like over these last few years, I've learned a lot of different things, but I don't really have a solid core game. And so why I reached out to you is because I wanted a consult on how to strategize everything, because there's so much out there and I'm just like, man, I just get so overwhelmed. So I thought it would be really cool to shoot this as content too, just to, you know, if anybody wants to book a consult with you, they can do that. And also kind of break down, show the methodology behind what you do as well. So yeah.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. And I really think it's to coach somebody, you know, like you is a special thing, because you are a very growth-minded person, and I've benefited a lot from that over the past 2-3 years knowing you, and so this type of consultancy call I think will be even more beneficial than usual, because you're already hungry, and then we just got to figure out your kind of key motivators and strategies to get you to where you want to go in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. So, I'll let you take it from here as well, Patrick.
Okay. Yeah. So I started developing kind of a set of questions and modules and like diagrams to look at when COVID first hit. And I was trying to kind of develop my own methodology for getting a student from being, you know, not just a beginner, but very unsatisfied with their jiu-jitsu experience to becoming very fulfilled and finding their flow state. Kind of going from like what I call like a reactive roller to a technical assassin. And so, you know, you kind of have to start from the beginning to get into this, like to help you, yeah, kind of from your foundation. There's two archetypes kind of for the type of person that needs jiu-jitsu, who chooses to try jiu-jitsu. Usually it's either a person who's never learned how to be aggressive and never found their inner backbone, and they're just trying to finally not get bullied by, whether it be metaphorically by life or by actual people. And then there's other people out there that have never learned how to channel their aggression, and they're super competitive, macho, maybe they got in too many fights growing up, and they're like really just aggro and everything. And so first thing I want to know is not who you are now necessarily, but it could be who you are now still. Which one of those were you going into jiu-jitsu?
So the first one is like so the second one I understand, like someone who needs to channel their aggression. Maybe they were getting into external fights or something like that and lashing out in other areas of their life. And what was the first one again?
Like someone who's timid and passive and never learned how to use aggression, like non-competitive.
I would say I probably fall, like if you're asking me if I had to pick myself one of the two, I would say I probably fall into the first one more likely as well. Yeah, I've never had a wanting to compete or anything like that. I just love the lifelong learning aspect of jiu-jitsu too, man. That's why I love. But yeah, I would say probably first one more so.
Okay. And you still feel that way? Like you still don't want to compete and you're still, or is that?
Yeah, I guess like I'll tell you kind of like my reasoning for not wanting to compete. I guess like one, I don't want to get injured, right? That's the number one thing. Like I'm just really concerned about getting injured, honestly. Why is that?
More than just the usual amount of concern.
I think like everything, like I started becoming more like, I've noticed this actually affecting my jiu-jitsu game too, like where I'm significantly less aggressive, right? As well, when I first started, was because ever since I sprained my like MCL or LCL or whatever, I was like, holy shit, you can get injured here. And I was always super cautious about like my knees and all that sort of stuff after that. And I just remember like how much that set me, like emotionally kind of set me, I felt like I was taking steps back in my jiu-jitsu game by being out so long as well. And so that was kind of like that's one thing that I'm just always really concerned about, getting injured as well. And that's probably why I'm not super aggressive as like when I first started rolling.
Okay, so you're saying it's for the sake of staying in and staying consistent with jiu-jitsu. It's not like for something else external that you're like worried about.
No, like I want to be a lifelong roller. I want longevity in the sport as well. So that's something that's really important to me at the moment.
I see. Okay. Yeah, because like an example of an external, or it's not like for example, I'm for a long time, when I first made jiu-jitsu my like sole business livelihood way of making money through private coaching, where I was using my physical body to train my clients and such, I was very, very concerned about getting injured, because if I did get injured and I couldn't use my body in that way, it would be very hard to do my job.
Yeah,
not impossible, because there are group privates and I can have other people grapple with each other, which is something I'm starting to do, but it would make my job really hard to get injured. So yeah, for similar reasons, like I haven't competed in quite a while. I also do enjoy coaching more than competing, but it's something I still might do a little bit of both of. So you want to be a lifelong grappler.
Yeah.
When did you first get that idea in your head? Like who modeled that? Is that something you like? Did you hear somebody else say that, or you've seen somebody older as training? You're like, yeah, I want to be like that guy.
Yeah, like I guess like at first I like when I first started jiu-jitsu, I wasn't even sure if I even liked it, honestly. But then seeing like, I think something that really fascinates me are all the mind games, the different you call them dilemmas, right? Like when you like these dilemmas, and there's the psychology, but there's also the physical aspect of the jiu-jitsu that I really, really love. And I see like, I don't know, sometimes I see like these videos on YouTube where there's these old people just like rolling, and they have gray hair and they're just like super old, and I want to be like that. Like I don't want to say I want to be like Elio Gracie or whatever, right? But seeing someone like him continue to roll in his old age, like I get so much entertainment just doing it. It's just like I really look forward to it as well, you know?
Is it something about seeing an old guy kind of out technique a young athletic guy, or it's not even about winning? It's not even about that like kind of
it's not even about winning. It's kind of cool just seeing them scrap with like someone who's younger, stronger, and all that sort of stuff too, and just hang in there. It's not even about winning sometimes, you know?
Maybe something like keeping a warrior spirit.
Yeah, I would say so. That personal development aspect is really important. I think to me that I see, because I notice like it's kind of weird, like in business too. Like I notice like sometimes in sales, things can get really heated and stuff when you're going through like a sales call or something like that. It's a very similar feeling, and to stay on top of your game, it's like this. Through practice, you're building yourself, and I'm really big on personal development and all that as well. So for me, jiu-jitsu is another way, a more physical way for me to express that type of art through personal development, through that medium, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. So it feeds the other things in your life that are really important to you, and it adds to those. It doesn't subtract. The time and the energy put into it, it feeds into those. It's really to be clear about why you're doing something like jiu-jitsu, because it's not natural for us to go fight when we don't have to fight, or wake up early to do that like you and I do, and beat up our bodies. Like maybe it would be natural to do it like once a month even, but like every day it's like it's a grind. And so if you don't have that why, then it's and like the most typical why is to compete, so you don't embarrass yourself, so you don't, or so that you get the glory.
Some weird because it's really funny. So I'll give a concrete example, right? Of like why I love jiu-jitsu is like, okay, so the last 2 weeks you've been doing the dogfight series and stuff like that too, right? We've been focusing on that, and I find myself like going after class, I'm like, oh shit, like dude, I got like fucking, I didn't hit like the like half plex or whatever today, right? Or I couldn't get the twister and stuff. And so then I find myself like at night when I'm done with work, like watching these videos and thinking about how, like, what are the small details I'm missing and stuff like that, or what are some other things that I don't know about this position too. So I keep on like watching videos and stuff, and it's really fun going in the next day, being able to like get this one small detail that I was missing and be able to hit it all of a sudden as well, right? And I think like it's kind of cool because like when I first like would watch certain videos, like it would take me a long time to be able to actually hit it like live rolling, but now it's really cool where I can just see one small detail and like I can apply it and I actually see it working. So I get to get that like live feedback, which is really fun for me.
Yes, the feedback is super important for that, to feel like you're in flow and you're not just stuck. Now I assume you were compelled to arrange this consult because you either see yourself possibly plateauing, being stuck down the road, or you're already at that point. And so would you say that's true?
I would say like not even plateauing, I would even say regression, honestly, as well, like too. Well, given COVID and all that, I didn't train for like half a year or two, so that might be a factor. But also like I think a more important part is like I don't know what I don't know, and I'm kind of curious to see your opinion as a black belt, like who competed against like one of the best, you know, how you would strategize or how you think as well, because obviously for me, like I just know that there's something missing in the game, or like I'm just too, I don't know, like I just don't feel super clear about my game plan when I'm like rolling. I just know like, yeah, there's certain positions I kind of favor and enjoy and stuff like that, playing a lot more, but it's like not a cohesive plan as well, right? I feel like I've been like, you know, I've gone through like enough where I've seen like all the basic moves and stuff like that, and I can like, if I see you like perform it, I can do it, but with really shitty detail. But I just feel like it's all over the place. It's not cohesive. There's no plan. It's kind of like when let me put it in business terms, it's like when you know all these different sales or persuasion techniques when you're trying to close a deal. You know things here, things there, but you don't have a process to organize everything together to make it cohesive as well. And that's what I feel like I'm missing in my jiu-jitsu game at the moment.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to start taking you through just some little. So here we are. You can see I have a mirror board up, right?
Okay.
Okay. So there's this concept of shuhari. It's I'm really not well educated in like martial art, like East Asian martial arts history, but I believe it's Japanese, and it's the martial arts path mastery. And so I built off of that to kind of put together a strategy to go from what I said about being a reactive roller to a technical assassin. And there's three kind of steps to there.
Okay.
And so what you said about not really, you have a bunch of different disparate areas that you're good at, but you don't know where to start or where to spend your time.
Yeah.
You know, it starts with basically play a macro game you can win. And I'll explain to you what the macro games are and how you can focus on them. But then once you discover the macro game, then you have to fight the micro battles and go into problem solving mode. And that comes through rolling, it happens through drilling, it happens through getting coached and asking questions. And then just broad overview, you get to innovate. This is where you really find your flow state and you can really be like water, this innovative system where you're really an individual jiu-jitsu player. Because a lot of, you know, you get to blue belt and a blue belt is a very dangerous person. They can choke out and, you know, kill basically 99.9% of people in the world, no matter their size or strength. And so, but they're not really individuals. They don't really have their own unique game. So going through this process, you want to get to this third stage where you really get enjoyment from it. So, and you don't want to skip these steps, because if you skip them, you know, I kind of lay out here what happens. You know, it's a little Venn diagram here. Without innovating, you kind of plateau after a while.
Okay.
And that's a lot of blue belts. Yeah, like coming up with your own unique game. If you don't choose a macro game ahead of time, you want me to pause?
No, we can go. You can keep on going. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So if you don't choose a game to focus on, then you become a generalist, and so that's spread thin, and that's possibly where you are. And then lastly, if you don't fight the micro battles, like you don't go into detail on what's going wrong, you just kind of like are always generally saying like, you know, you're just trying to go straight from kind of beginner at whichever game you're playing, and then straight to becoming you know, an innovating to then you'll probably burn out, because you're gonna get run over by people with experience, and you're not gonna have a way to like basically use cognitive behavioral therapy to solve the problem. You know?
Yeah.
That's what this second step really is. It's like CBT. So, and this third step is more like I don't know, like positive psychology, where you're really like you're there to like perform at your highest possible level.
Okay.
Okay, so that's a broad overview. And then when you put all this together, what you get is intelligent aggression. Okay, and that's kind of where we started here. Why did you get into jiu-jitsu? Were you not aggressive enough, over analytical, overthinking, and you didn't know how to channel it? Or were you you know, aggro and just weren't able to channel your aggression? So you put all this together, you combine you get the best of both worlds.
Okay.
I think that's what we're all trying to accomplish in jiu-jitsu. Okay, so let's start with taking our macro game. Okay, so you have to kind of pick one thing you really care about the most that's really causing you the most trouble in your roles. And so this is the Nogi skill stack that I put together.
Okay.
So it's, obviously it's like kind of suggests a hierarchy here of what you need to check a certain box first before moving on to the next one. But obviously there's no absolutes. So among these 5 categories you see here, what gives you the most anxiety about your performance lately?
Yeah, lately, more recently, takedowns. I would say I'm like, that's the weakest by far, where I just like don't feel super confident about that.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And are you doing live takedowns in class on a regular basis?
No, not really. I mean, I just go for like, I just have like go-tos as well, but like on people who I've gone several times, I never get those takedowns or anything like that. And I'll end up pulling. Oh yeah.
What I'm saying is, because it's pretty traditional in jiu-jitsu, or it's pretty common in jiu-jitsu too, just everyone like kneels or sits on their butt and start to roll.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure you're finding opportunities to work on to go for takedowns in live situations.
Yeah. We usually start like standing like most of the time. So, but I just don't have a good takedown game most of the time, right? I'll shoot a shot and it usually fails. I just shoot a shot just so we can get to the ground, honestly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shoot. Yeah. Takedowns are the hardest part of jiu-jitsu by far. It's kind of why it wasn't part of jiu-jitsu for so long. Whether it's wrestling or judo, jiu-jitsu kind of just said, well, we'll have some like kind of we'll kind of have some like standard takedowns, but we're mostly going to focus on what if we start on bottom and how to get from bottom to top and then find the submission.
Yeah.
So if you are staying in LA to train or you go elsewhere, you're going to have to make sure that you are able to train live with takedowns, so that some schools don't do too much of that. So just to reconfirm, that is the most important thing to you right now, getting your takedowns.
When you say most important to me, like I would say that's my weakest, honestly, but the most important thing,
if you could be number 1 in class in one of these categories,
if I could be number 1
class, yeah.
Definitely not bottom guard. I don't really care about that, honestly. Like, you're talking about playing like traditional like full guard and stuff.
Any kind of guard, like it could be open guard, it could be Delahiva, it could be butterfly, it could be X guard, rubber guard.
Okay.
Anything where you're bottom, starting bottom.
I would say like, yeah, like probably bottom guard is probably most important to me, like especially like butterfly and stuff like that. I would like to get really good at that as well. That's probably most important for me. Okay,
so that's good. So you were just kind of biased against closed guard, but not bottom game in general.
Yeah, because like I don't know, I'm not sure if it's just me, but like I always like I feel like I have very short. So that's something I learned about jiu-jitsu too. Like I have like longer arms, like pretty longer arms, but I have a really short legs, and it's very hard for me to like wrap around for close guard and stuff like that. So I have a lot of trouble playing those positions.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, we're gonna address that very soon. So now go kind of zooming in on this pyramid here. We're in this bottom part.
Sure.
You kind of need to go left to right as you see the arrows suggest.
Okay.
So do you feel confident that you cannot spend the majority of the round in side control, full mount, back, and defending the back? Like you're pretty good at recovering and.
Yeah, I would say so. If I'm not working on it, yeah, I'm pretty good. I would say I'm decent at that.
Okay, good. How about your build. So yeah, these two are kind of 1B, 1C. Well, yeah, 1A, 1B, 1C. Where do you feel more confident, landing sweeps or landing submissions from your back?
From my back, sweeps for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so so there's two approaches to this type of thing. We could really double down on that strength of sweeps, or we could fill in the hole you have with submissions from bottom. I'm kind of more inclined to go in the sweep direction, but we will continue to explore this.
Okay.
So we are looking at. It's funny that you don't like close guard, because I didn't mean to put an X through this ahead of time. I was just kind of trying to make a point that like close guard is not the only guard, and I think I was creating a piece of content to do this. So basically, there's this matrix here, okay, or not really a matrix, more like an XY graph of your limb length and your physical power, and those are both two important things to consider when you choose which guard to play.
Okay, I like this chart actually. It actually explains a lot.
Yeah,
like my tendencies. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so if you kind of look at it for a while, where can you see yourself plotting on it?
Where can I see myself climbing on this? You said
plotting yourself on it. Like I could guess, like you're definitely on the stronger of the spectrum, and then limb length, I'd call you somewhere in the middle.
Yeah,
right?
Is it like arm length or like leg length?
More leg.
Yeah, I would say I'm not my leg length. Like I find myself like probably skewing more to like the butterfly half guard section as well.
Yeah.
Like where your cursor is like in between, I would say. Right there. Yeah.
That's good, because those are the two really good sweeping guards that you don't have to like do a ton of work for. Like the X guard and the El Hivo type guards are really good too. And these are basically broad terms. Like there's guards within these guards. I just had to simplify it. But as you can see, half guard is the fastest path to sweeping. And X guard is the fastest path to a sub because of leg locks.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So just to look in a little more detail here, types of half guards and butterfly guards. There's an electric chair emphasis style and dogfight. Actually, I want to change this a little bit.
Sure.
Electric chair style. There is more of a dogfight single leg style. And then you have a deep half guard style. Ultimately, these all work together really well.
Yeah.
But you do have to kind of start with one to focus on.
Yeah.
And then for butterfly guards, similarly, there's a sit-up butterfly guard style, and then there's a supine butterfly guard style. Like that, a good example of a sit-up butterfly guard player is like Marcelo Garcia.
Mm-hmm.
A good example of supine is someone like Gordon Ryan or Craig Jones. But you start to combine all these. Like they're not absolute lines around these.
Okay.
So given that, we're going to, so as you're just to kind of dictate a little bit and you tell me what you think, I'm very much leaning toward having you start with half guard right now, focusing on your half guard game.
Yeah.
And then maybe adding butterfly game later, and then maybe like you keep going down the line, you add these later, but you have like reliable strategies from bottom.
Yeah.
Start out. What do you think about that?
I agree. I definitely find myself like, I think the lowest hanging fruit at the moment is like half guard, because I usually end up there, or I force myself into that position most likely.
Okay.
So yeah. I would say so.
Yeah, and it's a good rope-a-dope strategy, because the top guy usually is like happy about not having to deal with opening closed guard, so he'll just like, accept it, and then you kind of lull him to sleep. So I have a lot going on here. There's a lot of stuff I haven't looked at since like when COVID first hit, and I was really geeking out on creating all these like mind maps and things. So I'm gonna see if I have a half guard style decision tree here.
I think it's at the bottom, right?
Yes, perfect. Okay, let me just. Okay, so every system kind of starts with the headquarters position.
Okay.
Okay, so that's just like, so you just kind of want to know what that is.
Okay.
And for this particular like model, it's locked down half guard with no underhook given up, no clinch yet.
Okay.
And so there's a bunch of ways to get to lockdown, but you're experienced enough where I don't have to explain it all. So what this lays out, we don't have to go into crazy detail here. Same with deep half right here, is basically like the canonical techniques you want to start like learning. Just like whether it's through YouTube or asking your coach, you kind of want to like look at this terminology, which I'll send to you so you can reference it later.
Mm-hmm.
And start to learn on your own, because this is a consult, so I'm not going to be coaching you in person. I mean, maybe I will in the future, but so this is like kind of the work you have to do on your own, but at least you know
strategy. Yeah.
So these are various entries, finishes, and then later add-ons. So we're still in the macro game phase. Let's zoom out a little bit. We're still very much in stage 1.
Okay.
Because you chose the macro game, and you chose basically the techniques you need to learn, like just kind of step by step basic techniques.
Okay.
The technique is something that works against a non-resisting opponent, and then it immediately fails the second somebody like knows what you're trying to do.
All right. Yeah.
That brings us to stage 2, which is fight and solve micro battles.
Okay.
Okay. So, any questions so far?
It's actually helping clear up like what to focus on, like especially when I'm doing live rolls and stuff like that too, where I should be playing.
Yeah. I'm very glad to hear that. Okay, so what you need to do is kind of like start from. So let's think of an example. Like, when was the last time you got your guard passed, or something bad happened from bottom position?
When was the last time?
Like I saw it in class this week, maybe, or.
I always like give up my guard, honestly, which is a really bad habit. So.
Is there a certain guard pass that tends to pass your guard, basically?
Like a certain pass. Let me try to think. Honestly, it's just like sometimes it's not even like, if I were to say something off the top of my head, and maybe you have a different observation as well, but I would just say even like a basic Toriando or something like that, I always get passed and stuff. Like, I just feel like sometimes I'm just not quick enough in terms of recovering, like in terms of my guard retention as well.
Okay. So let's just say Toriando.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's pillar number 2. I kind of confused you with the last one. That's for something that's a little bit different. Okay. Basically, you want these are the 3 victory factors, which is figuring out what the micro problem is.
Mm-hmm.
These are like all kind of within the micro battle, and then what micro techniques can you use to deal with that problem, and then and then more tactical end, how are we going to drill this so that your body is trained to execute against resistance?
Okay.
So, micro problem, you said they get a Toriando pass, so they're on their feet.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much an entry problem.
Okay.
Sounds like, because you pretty much haven't connected your opponent very much yet, and they're controlling your shins, and they do a quick crossover step, and they pass your guard real quick.
Yeah.
And so what you want to do next is figure out, okay, what micro technique am I going to use to deal with this? Is it going to be preventative, meaning I'm not going to even let them start the entry? Is it going to be a recovery where they start to they have success, but I quickly recover to get back to where I started? Or am I going to let them kind of have some success with me and counter them with something else? So this is kind of where your own taste comes in, and I can advise you. Because Toriano is it's a very simple technique, so it's easy to break down here. Preventative would be what they need to do is grab your shins. Okay, so basically your job is to keep your shins and knees away from your opponent to grab.
Okay.
Sitting up, playing more of a sit-up guard. You can do that by latching on to a black mamba, meaning because you're a half guard player. We've already kind of done that. You can just latch on to a quarter guard. Or you can just be on your back, but your legs are always moving, doing these egg beater motions.
Okay. Yeah.
But given that you're playing half guard, I would say you want to probably go just don't play that open guard game. Just grab a quarter guard real quick.
Okay.
But if you did, but we still have to address recovery and counter, because maybe you're not fast enough in the beginning, and they are able to pass. You need to have recovery down. You got to work on the recovery is for the Toriano pass is going to be a quick hip escape and leg lasso.
Yeah. Okay.
You got to move most people just lasso their leg, but they don't move their hips, so they end up getting stacked upside down. And so that's something to think about. And then a counter attack could be they get passed, and when they're passed, you scoop their leg with one of your arms and enter a leg lock. One example.
Okay.
It's K guard could be one way of doing it. You don't.
Okay.
I'm not picturing it right now, but it doesn't matter. This is more for learning.
Okay.
Okay, and then so you have a plan now, and then what are you going to do about it? Okay, so there's 3 ways you can drill and practice this. One, the best is always to go live. So you tell a partner, hey, here's what we're going to do. You grab somebody and say, hey, we're going to start an open guard, and let's go 100% live until you pass, or until I get a sweep, or maybe simply until I just latch onto your ankle. If you're working on the preventative aspect, and it's just don't let me grab your ankle, and I'm gonna try to grab your ankle with Black Mamba quarter guard. But maybe you're not good enough to he just runs through you every time, and it's just too soon to go live. Okay, then you need to do reps. You need to just over and over, butt scoot, snatch on an ankle, butt scoot, snatch on an ankle. He's just standing there like a statue. Maybe he moves a little bit. Okay, and then let's say the reps. This case, it would be kind of funny if you couldn't do that, but let's say it was just too exhausting and you couldn't do that. Then you just have to not have a partner there, and just butt scoot across the mat, for 10 reps on a certain day, or a minute long on a certain day, and the next day build up to a minute 30, and it's just kind of doing progressive body transformation.
What does S&C stand for?
Strength and conditioning.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So that's where it's you have to actually work. You're not good enough to go live. You're not even good enough to rep it. So you have to work on your body strength and conditioning.
Okay, gotcha.
Most jujitsu's so technique based that rarely do you have to resort to working on your leg strength, doing more squats or whatever. But it's there. For guard passing, you need to have strong legs. Maybe mix in.
Okay.
So anyway, this is kind of the cognitive behavioral therapy I was talking about. You're breaking down this bad situation that happened into its tiny component parts and making a plan to basically overcome it.
Yeah. Quick question. So we covered the micro problem types as well. We talked about entry, but I don't think we talked about transition and B and C as well, of that. So what are those sections?
So let's say now we're talking about we're talking about you're trying to go for an electric chair sweep.
Yeah.
So maybe a transition problem would be you get to electric double underhooks and then you can't whip down and get their leg on your shoulder. Like you just can't pull them. You know that problem?
Yeah. That's
a transition problem. And then a finish problem would be maybe you get to that position, electric double underhooks, and they keep like wrapping your neck and guillotine choking you or dark.
Oh, okay, I understand. So like we're talking about the problem. So like in this case, it's like the entry of getting into my primary game, right? Is that what we're talking about?
Yes. Okay. It could be your primary game, or it could be your game, or it could be a specific problem that it's still applied to your game as long as you're trying to play your game. It could be in some other macro game also. Okay. You still can apply this method because you're not always going to be on bottom.
Yeah.
So this is just a way of like, because what happens, what you hear all the time is people say like, oh, I got smashed today. Like I'm not flexible enough. It's like, well, no, you're just being really general. So you need to specify where things are going wrong. Is it like when they get their grip? Is it when they're moving from position to position? Is it when they've locked on a submission and you don't know how to defend it? So
okay.
So yeah, and then so whichever one of these, then it sprouts out to any of these, and then these sprout out to any of these.
Hey, quick question, Patrick. Do a lot of black belts think like this, or is it just you?
Well, I'm following myself. I would say it's not just me, but I'm probably something like 1% of black belts think this way.
Okay.
I have to because I'm a coach.
Yeah.
I'd say coaches more think this way.
Okay.
Not very many coaches think this way explicitly the way I'm doing it. Most of them just kind of do it instinctively.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, this really helps out a lot, and it's kind of like I'm like, wow, holy shit! I never really thought about like my jiu-jitsu game like this at all, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and I'm gonna show you exactly like how to do this because this might seem like kind of overwhelming and technical, but it's not. It can get easier. So zooming out, there's different ways of getting because basically this is the gold right here, the knowledge. And so there's different ways of acquiring this knowledge. Simplest way is from your coach, or from more experienced players. But you can also use film study to, I actually haven't filled in this module, but there's specific ways of doing film study to learn how to deal with certain problems, because you can see how competitors overcome resistance. Mm-hmm. In fact, let me go to real quick here. This film study is something that will really help you if you don't have private coaching.
Sorry?
Film study is something that'll really help you with this process if you don't have private coaching.
Okay.
So yeah, this fits in well. Let me share my screen again. Basically, you need to find footage of your BJJ hero, quote unquote, playing whatever system or scenario that you're dealing with. And so, I have like little details here of where to look and how to search for it. Literally type in their name, role, versus this person or seminar or whatever. And then study like a scientist. So whether it's a takedown, a pass, a recovery, a submission, there's 3 phases of execution: setup, entry, and finish. I'd actually rather this say like setup / entry, transition, and finish, but I don't understand. You gotta break it up.
Gotcha.
Okay, jiu-jitsu is like watching jiu-jitsu is a lot like watching a magic trick. You don't really see what's happening and why it works, so you gotta really watch it over and over. So basically you gotta like have a good rewind and playback system. Hopefully it's on YouTube. Instagram sucks for that. But basically you just gotta fix your eyes on like each limb like over and over, just like on their right foot, and like watch that a few times, then on their left foot, and then on their knee, and then on their other knee, right hand, left hand. And you start to really see like, oh, like there's all these things I was just ignoring that they're doing that I'm leaving out of my game. So this is kind of how you solve problems and on your own without a coach. So I'm kind of rushing through this a little bit, but that's the other way is just asking a lot of good questions, both of yourself, kind of Socratically, and just like kind of challenging your mind to creatively problem solve, or by asking your coach.
Quick question, I guess specifically toward me, right? Like if I'm looking for a BJJ hero, who like, and knowing what kind of game I want to play and whatnot, who is a good example of a BJJ hero specifically for me?
Yeah, so that would be that could be Eddie Bravo. It could be Lucas Leitch for because I'm talking about half guard. It could be Jeff Glover. These are all like, it could be Bernardo Faria. So Jeff Glover and Bernardo Faria are like deep half specialists. Eddie Bravo is an electric chair specialist. Obviously, he invented it. And Lucas Leitch is all about dogfight. He's really good at that. Andre Galvao is another one who's had a lot of success with dogfight. But I'd say write down Lucas Leitch. So let's get into note taking.
Okay.
A little bit. Give me one moment. Feel free to ask any question.
Any particular fights that you really recommend me to watch, by the way, Patrick?
For this particular half guard system. Yes. Let me just go back to, and this as far as takeaways, like I'll make sure you have any information you need after this call. Okay, so one fight to watch is Andre Galvao versus Chael Sonnen in a submission grappling match. That's really good. There's a Lucas Leitch Coyote guard highlight. That's really good. So you can just write that down for now. I'll send that to you later.
Okay.
You can just see him hitting half guard sweeps over and over and over. And so you can use those. But yeah, ultimately you're gonna go for these some techniques during rolling, and they're gonna not work the way you hope they would. And so you are gonna have to sit down and take down. So really, let me just so I'm gonna share my Notion board now. I just have 2 entries right now. It's just like this past week I started doing it on here. So this was on Thursday in Eddie's class. I rolled with 3 people.
Yeah.
Bookie Martinez from Planet San Diego, and Danny and Garrett. So I had a lot of good modes. I had a lot of bad modes. Or actually, it was a good roll. I was pretty happy with that day. But you just take quick and dirty notes. Like it's just a lot of like semicolons and writing down things that happen and being as specific as possible, putting the problems into words. So with Boogie, I just wrote like he got a lot of grips. So next time I need to fight those off more, or get my grips first. So this one is like this one is recovery, fight off with a cross strike, whereas this one is more preventative. I don't have any counter type options there. And then some things I did well was like I kind of my DM's passing game like kind of helped stall. It put me in some pretty good positions. This is where like a pass came close. Like I didn't successfully pass his guard at any point in this round, but I came really close. And so if I were to just ignore that I came close, I wouldn't like remember that and build on it. So a lot of this is like about I call it gold, or I guess you can call it like gold mining. You're just like getting the gold from all this data that you collected in your role. And then so with Danny, I saw that a flying underhook pass worked well. It's something like you can just speak in your own language. Nothing crazy. A lot of times I won't even look at these anymore. And then today it rolls with a couple of my privates, some private clients, and so it's mainly about like once you write it down again, it stores in your brain. You kind of remember the good and the bad, and writing down the good is really helpful because, like I said, it's kind of stores it, and you can use it again next time and build on it. Writing down the bad is helpful because then you can go through that process of that 3-part process I took you through. And you feel a lot less anxiety. You feel a lot less like shitty about yourself after your drive home, where you like realize like, crap, I didn't do that good today. Because you're like, oh, now I have a plan to solve it. Here's what I'm going to do to deal with it.
It's kind of like the real benefit is just a critical thought, a process behind it as well, right?
Yeah. And I'm just trying to apply it to jiu-jitsu. So after you've done, I have one more thing to show you. Okay, so we're in our innovation phase. I'm just going to take you to Whimsical. You use Whimsical as your main board, right?
I use Whimsical and Miro, so yeah, I use both.
So now you're getting into your innovation phase. You want to start I'm going to share now.
So you're reviewing the tapes to identify the micro battles as well. And now we're moving to a third phase. Okay, gotcha.
Third phase. So I'm not as used to using Whimsical. I'm trying to shift. Coach me, Kevin.
What are you trying to do?
Trying to move around on the screen.
You trying to zoom in?
I want to zoom, but I first want to. We'll go to this one actually. I first want to move the whiteboard over.
Oh, control.
Oh, here it is. Hand mode. There we go. Okay, and then to scroll. Unfortunately, it doesn't let me scroll to zoom, so I just have to press this. Okay. So this is where you really go like next level and invent your own game.
Okay.
Kind of like you've had enough experience, maybe after months of doing all this training, putting all this work in, trying to accumulate a lot of data, and you built a tree like this where like, okay, this is sitting bottom position. It's a place where we start a lot. I can control that. So we start there. And then you write down like, 1 or 2 opponent behaviors. So you can be kneeling on both knees. You can have one knee down or you can be standing. And I have answers for each one. Okay, quarter Z if he goes there. Z guard if he goes there. Quarter shell if he goes here. Standing opponent. And then all these different variables, like, oh, what if he does this? Backs at the honey hole. Okay, honey hole defense series. But most likely I'm going to go down into my dogfight if the knee is heavy, or if the knee is light, I go mini stomp to lockdown.
Okay.
So this should look overwhelming to you. It's something that's purely like custom to my brain. It's possible it doesn't make any sense to you. But the point is you can use your own language, and because it's just for you, and you put something like this together, and your body starts to just instinctively go through this kind of decision tree right here.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense because I tried doing a mind map, but I was just trying to do it myself. But it's interesting to see you plan this out because you focus on the main the only possibilities, like especially in the beginning of the top of the chart as well, right? Like those are the only like 3 possibilities, right? Standing opponent, one knee down, kneeling opponent. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Everything off that. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, it could be it could be different, like depending on who you're facing in your gym all the time. Like maybe it's like, oh, this guy likes to do like a cartwheel pass all of a sudden. Yeah. Like it would be really rare if like cartwheel passes were having that much where you'd have to actually like plan for it in every roll. But
yeah,
it could, it doesn't have to be this exact schema of like.
But the highest probability of like rolls. Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. And so this is something that I'm always updating. Like I haven't looked at this in I think think at least 6 months, and I've been rolling and doing dogfight since then. And maybe like there's parts of this that I want to update. Like, oh, yeah, like actually that's too low percentage. I wouldn't make that decision anymore. Or people are presenting this new problem, and I need to add it in and add a solution. And so I have all these answers because I've done all that film study. I've asked all those questions to higher belts or coaches, So you can probably see how, and then like even this is very non-flow. This is like very planning. You want to get to the point now where you use this as a reference guide, but pretty much in your roles, you're pretty much just going on instinct.
Yeah.
And then where things really come full circle is going back to our original whiteboard to wrap this up, is you go through this game again. So you got all the way here and you cycle back, you choose a new macro game. Complete your game. So you like move on to guard passing because you're getting so many sweeps that you're getting on top. You need to like really solidify a guard passing game. Maybe after like a month, maybe 2 months, maybe 3 months, maybe a year, who knows? Like you've been passing the guard this whole time, but now you're really going to focus on it. You're going to spend 70% of your rolls like from top passing people's guards and smashing. Same with leg locks. Maybe you'll go to leg locks and you'll go through this process. Leg lock macro game, what style of leg locks? Okay, I'm going to learn these techniques. Okay, now I'm going to find all these dials because I keep getting caught in toe holds. How do I prevent the toe hold? And then, I'm going to build a whole decision tree where I'm like, I built this world that my opponent has no idea exists, and I'm going to just dominate them. And then, and I see how I can mix leg locks with my bottom game now. And now I'm going to go back to my decision tree. And I don't know if it took you back to the decision tree here. Did it?
Yeah, it does. I see it.
And I'm going to add like a little leg lock tangent here. Maybe not. Let me see if I've connected. Let me see if there's anywhere I've like connected disparate parts of the games.
As a black belt, how many times do you think you've gone through this process? Like if you were to give like a rough estimate.
Yeah, so like unconsciously I've gone through it hundreds of times, thousands of times. But as far as like since I've been making these diagrams, I've probably gone through it about 10 times with like 10 different systems. Like I've done it with leg locks, I've done it with electric chair, I've done it with guard passing, I've done it with stand-up takedowns. And I'm gonna like repeat because your body starts to get more coordinated and better, and what you're capable of is more. So you can kind of go through the process, or you're facing higher level competitors, so you need to like redo this whole thing. But it's a constant building process, and I think this is a recipe for you to sustain jiu-jitsu for life, and it stays fun and it stays interesting. You're engineering. It's kind of like engineering. If you like to geek out on things, you can do it this way. If you don't like to geek out, then you just kind of do the basics. You just like keep a journal, keep a jiu-jitsu journal, put names to problems, and like ask good questions to people. And then if you like to geek out, build a decision tree. Either way, like this decision tree is going to show up in your game.
Can you show your decision tree one more time too? Like we covered the beginning part, but how do you plan for like submissions and stuff like that in your decision tree too? Like I saw some like submission stuff like where you had the circles and stuff. So I'm kind of curious like how you actually built it.
Yeah. So looking at, hold on. We're on desk. So looking at this, so half guard kind of electric chair dogfight system.
Oh,
it should say dogfight also. Yeah. It's mostly for sweeping. So the finish is mostly going to be getting on top and possibly a pass. So like these are the three main: electric chair sweep and pass, half plex sweep and pass, knee tap sweep and pass, back take to base or baseball bat.
Okay.
Those are the four main canonical finishes. So all these kind of trickle down to those four.
And so when you do a circle, like because I see some like, so basically when it's not in a circle, it's like what your opponent is doing, and then the circle is like what the end goal, right? Is that pretty much it?
Yeah. It's sort of goal / what I'm doing, and then the non-circle embedded in the connecting line is kind of either your opponent or just some like context. Like here, I just said like you're ambitious.
Yeah, you gotta be pretty damn ambitious if you want to go for a baseball bat. Yeah. I always like when I after this week, man, I was like, man, am I that ambitious to do it, man? I always had to.
So I would probably write that differently now because maybe I was not as good as it back then. So I was just like, not sure about this.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, it actually should say if their whizzer is still in, kept whizzer, because that's really what it. As far as so then it would be kept whizzer, baseball bat, took out whizzer, back take. That is really what I should have written there. But I was just a 0 stripe black belt back then. I'm still a 0 stripe black belt, by the way.
All right. Cool.
Yeah. Does that answer your question about?
Yeah, I was just kind of interested of like how you like well, like why you circled certain things. What was the context behind that as well? But I understand now.
Okay, good. Yeah, and it's basically just like preparing for, like right here I said fails, and you have to prepare for failure sometimes. Not too much. You want to like assume you don't have confidence and authority behind your techniques, but sometimes you still have to have a plan. So it's just like sometimes it's just simple like reframe up, you know.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Magic bullet sometimes.
All right.
And so, you know, hip escape, it's like that'll never go away. So you just got hip escape to fix what went wrong, you know.
Okay, that makes sense.
So yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So what are, I guess we've gone through kind of like everything as well. So I guess like what are the key takeaways, man?
The key takeaways I would say are for sure you need to keep your high, kind of your North Star in mind as far as why you're doing jiu-jitsu. And you want to put that in kind of a 1-sentence statement. So it revolves around something about jiu-jitsu for life, something around warrior spirit, something around, you know, there's something unique to you where you want to put that in a single sentence. It's sort of like the Ikigai exercise, sort of like, you know, a massively transformative purpose. You've done these exercises before for your business, I'm sure.
What's yours?
I'm kind of at the moment I'm not like solid on one for jiu-jitsu because I'm in a transition phase as far as coaching, competing. And that's a bit of an issue. I'm also like, so yeah, I'm a little bit shy about sharing. Yeah. Like still under construction at the moment.
Let me ask you this. What was one version of your previous self? Like, because it sounds like you're going through a transition now, but
well, a really good example, the one that was like the most motivating was like to become, when I was like a purple belt, no, when I was a brown belt, it was to become the #1 grappler in my gym. Like anybody, so basically I was training at Eddie Bravo's HQ, and like I wanted it to be so that it's not about like grappling record, like anyone who I do a round with, I win that round either by like position points or submission. I get more submissions than them. That was my goal. Like anyone that Eddie put in front, because Eddie likes to do like these challenges, not really challenges, but he'll just like call you out because there's somebody new in the gym, like some visitor. They're like, go, like let's test you on this guy. And so my goal is just to like be the one that was still standing at the end. And there were some days and weeks and months where I was on that streak and I achieved that. And then, you know, some visitor comes in who's like, you know, because a lot of high level guys come in and I'm like, oh shit, there's still another guy out there. So yeah, like I said, I was like a brown belt at that point. And then I started competing, and then it so maybe this is why I stopped competing. I did not have a clear aim there. It could have been become the best in the world
Mm.
in my weight class or something like that. But yeah, it's like because now it's been about teaching, like basically accelerating, giving access to more grapplers, giving more grapplers access to jiu-jitsu, because there's like a 50% quit rate. Kind of, that's sort of a cliche, but it's something around that. And so my goal is just to like make that rate lower as a teacher. So what I'm working on right now is integrating my own performance into that, because if I'm just a teacher and I'm just selfless, then my sword is not going to stay sharp. So that's like kind of why I don't have a clear one right now, but I'm glad you asked, because I do need to clarify that. I've kind of been putting it off because I've been thinking about other things.
But it's okay. It gives me at least a good idea of like one example of a previous version of yourself as well. So that was a great example. So that's the first thing. Come up with the one-liner. What are some of the other takeaways?
So another takeaway is you've figured out your macro game you're going to focus on.
Okay. Yep.
You're going to pull guard every roll unless the other guy sits first. Then it's etiquette to accept top position. You want to spend at least 70% of the time playing that game. And then once you're successful at it, you're getting sweeps a lot. Then it's gonna be hard to spend 70% of that time because you're getting on top. But like, you know what I mean.
Okay.
Start with the rules from bottom, and then start picking techniques to work on, to drill, repetition drill. So that's 3 things so far. And then use this micro battle process to when things go wrong and you're driving home from the gym and you're discouraged because the thing you got all excited to try out that you saw on the internet didn't work. Embrace the process of breaking it down, naming the problems. This is a lot of information, so like I'm gonna have to send you some stuff, but
yeah.
So that's, and then lastly, it's just, as far as takeaways, I'd leave it at that, because the rest will take care of itself. You'll be so excited once you see yourself like go from being so discouraged for getting completely negated in whatever you're trying to do to like solving it almost on your own.
Yeah.
The rest of the process kind of takes care of itself. You're just like, you feel like that's why jiu-jitsu is so good for us psychologically. Because it humbles you, and we talk about it humbling us, but like what it really does, like it teaches you that you're like a transformative person, that you're a comeback story, that you can get your life literally taken away from you if the person didn't let go, to either defending off that person or beating them. And so once you're able to kind of CBT your jiu-jitsu game, those types of decision trees and strategies will just reveal themselves to you pretty much.
Awesome stuff. Thanks for the takeaways. For someone who wants to book a consult for you or anything like that, or follow you, where do they go?
Yes, please. They go to patrickdonabedian.com, and it's pretty easy to find where to get in contact with me there. My name, Patrick Donabedian, again on Instagram. Same on YouTube, Patrick Donabedian YouTube channel. I have a lot of techniques, instructionals posted there, as well as live rolls where you can see me doing this kind of micro battle breakdown process. I have one on Kimura traps and one on this electric dogfight system. So you should definitely rewatch that video if you haven't.
Yeah.
In a while. That's where you can find me.
Awesome. Well, anything else you want to share before we log off, Patrick?
At the moment, I'm so grateful that we're getting to do jiu-jitsu again, kind of in this last leg of COVID lockdown.
Yeah,
it's a really it's a necessary thing for me, and I think for a lot of people out there. So I'm just grateful for that. And yeah.
Yeah, I know this will help a lot of people try and bring off the rust too. So that's perfect. Well, thanks, Patrick. Appreciate it. And make sure you guys follow Patrick as well.
Thanks, Kevin.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that consult. Chances are, if you enjoyed this video, then chances are that you'll enjoy that video where Patrick completely dominates me as well. Yes, this video caught wind on the YouTube algorithm. It's me against a 10th Planet black belt, my boy Patrick, and you can see him dominate me. And yes, it was really embarrassing, and yes, it went super viral, but I hope you enjoy that video. So make sure to check that out. I'll leave it in the cards. Anyways, stay kick-ass, stay bold. I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Peace.